feeling within me. 'Cause you know that all the words are just for you. I shout my lungs, I beat my drums, yes I do. 'Cause I am here to say that you're my everything, my everything. Everything. Tattoo rings. This means more to me than music that I sing. Tattoo rings. Tattoo rings. Oh, thank you, universe, for everything.
Cam Cole with a song called Tattoo Rings. Not into tattoos, but that is a beautiful song. So I thought I'd play that as an intro to this podcast where I'm going to talk about fasting and how we can look like we're dying, literally. So I pulled up some references. I have a article that I kind of forgot about that I've been working on. It's been a work in progress. There's a lot of info in here, and you just are not going to find this anywhere else. This is me just going off and picking everything out of my mind, and some of these words coming from who knows where. But this is the article. It's at ourhighestpotential.com. Talks about really more focused on dry fasting. However, all fasting, real fasting, where you're not eating, is going to produce autophagy. And if people don't know, I'm going to go ahead and read what autophagy is. Not the benefits. Let's read what it is. Where is it? Okay. Autophagy. Auto means self, and phagy or phagy means eat. So the literal meaning of autophagy is self-eating. So let me clear up a misconception, because everybody that's still conditioned by the BS nutrition that we're taught is thinking right now, yeah, exactly, that's what your body does when you're not eating food. It eats itself. Guys, seriously? Do you really think your body's that stupid? Do you know that you can try to die by holding your breath? You can try to commit suicide that way. Do you know that you can't? Do you know that if you try to hold your breath, your body's going to knock you out? It's going to pass you out because you're too dumb to live, apparently. And the body's going to continue the involuntary action of breathing. Your body will seal up cuts with blood, causing a scab, growing new skin. It will raise the body temperature just enough as needed to heal when you have a fever. But it's going to eat itself. Okay. And don't forget those Cheetos and that bread. Yeah. That's actually going to turn somehow magically into you. Somehow. Magically. No. Nope. So anyways, autophagy. So the body is, I'm not going to say eating because that's that word implies that somehow this is sustenance, that your cells are being consumed for the body's sustenance, and that is highly inaccurate. That's not what's going on. The body is clearing out all portions of itself that are aged, toxic, weak, damaged. Toxic being the first cells that are removed, and those cells are visible body fat cells. Those cells were created only to house overflow toxins that were coming into your body one way or another, likely via your hands to your mouth, overloading the liver with toxins, and those excess toxins were housed in fat. That fat was created with that one purpose, not so that the body could store up energy, not like a camel in the desert, supposedly that's fat stored up for later so the body can have something to eat. And people have this misconception that they need to gain weight before a fast. You're not gaining weight, dude. You're toxing up. You're just toxifying yourself if you're gaining weight. And you're not gaining. You see these words they use, man. You're not gaining anything. So, body fat, it's useless. The only thing that is used, but it's not needed, it's just that it's used because it's there, is the water in that cell. And I should have pulled up the percentage of water that those cells are, but it's a lot. It's like 90% water. The rest is toxins of some sort. Are toxins, I should say. And those toxins are purged through number 2, solid waste, gases, burps, farts, sneezing, coughing. And something interesting that I was reading the other day, I should pull the book. Up, but I'll save that for another podcast. Again, Hotema writing about the blood and how the blood removes toxins from the body, and how breath cleans the blood. Besides the liver, it's not just the liver doing this, it's your breathing that's doing it. The breath work, you need to breathe not because the body is living off of oxygen, but because the air, the breath, the exhale, I should say, is being used to detox the body through the lungs where the blood passes through. So the reason somebody dies if they're choked or they stop breathing somehow is because your body becomes highly toxic immediately. You have to constantly be detoxing. As soon as you're not, the body becomes highly toxic and you die quickly. So this podcast, I'm supposed to be talking about why we look skinny, why we lose, and I'm not going to say lose, why we shed waste. People in this society call it losing weight. I call it shedding waste. So here's what happens, guys. I'm going to give you a little story. I was talking to a guy about fasting. This was a couple of years ago. And I talk to people about fasting every day, but this is just one of those examples. And we were talking, and he said, yeah, I fasted for a month before, and man, I just had nothing but bad results. And he said I was losing weight, I looked terrible. felt like crap, and he got sick. He said, I got sick. I got sicker. Well, initially that can happen, but you go for a month and he says he's still sick. So I was curious. I said, so what caused you to fast? What motivated you? Because this is big, guys. And he said, my girlfriend left me. Named off a bunch of other things that happened in his life. He was down, he was depressed. So he wasn't fasting. He wasn't fasting, he was depressed. And he just wasn't eating because he was depressed. So, of course, the body was doing its thing. He wasn't eating, so the body was destroying the cells that were bad and damaged and weak and toxic. But at the same time, he was countering the positive effects of his fast because he was depressed. He was acidic. And I know this because of my experience with urine therapy. I've done years of it. But I did 7 months very intense, with almost no food. Basically, my intake was pee. And what I discovered is when I was down, because I was going through some tough times myself, I was mostly happy though. Mostly happy because of my state of where I just started caring about myself again. But during that time, I noticed whenever I was down and depressed, my pee was tasting very, very rough, very acidic, a very notable acidic taste, almost impossible to ingest for me. And I realized at that point that it was really true. One of the things we've been taught that is true, and I don't know that we've really been taught, we just hear it here and there. It's not mainstream, I guess, or maybe it is, I don't know. But happiness is health. All else being equal, happiness is health. When you're happy, your pH is, again, all else being equal, it's alkaline. That's a dis-ease or infirmity, unfriendly environment when your pH is alkaline. So this guy who was fasting, he wasn't fasting, he just wasn't eating because he was depressed, he couldn't eat, he was down. And his body was acidic. So though he was fasting, he was also at the same time damaging cells. He was literally killing himself while the fasting was trying to unkill, was trying to get rid of the shitty cells and replace them. He was damaging them at the same time. So he was working against the positive effects, the positive results of his fast. So that's an example right there. When you're fasting, do it for the right reason, guys, and you've got to keep your mood up somehow. It's tough in the beginning, especially. I don't care what kind of fasting you're doing, but especially dry fasting for sure. But most people are going to be doing liquid fasting, and I personally recommend liquid fasting. Anybody who does not have experience with fasting needs liquid fasting because you need to clean your body out. You need to clean it out. And if you're going to do a liquid, the best liquids... I need a shock mount for my microphone because this happens when I barely hit the table. Liquid fasting, you want to do distilled water, urine therapy, which is, as far as the liquid fast goes, there's nothing that even comes close to urine therapy. It is the absolute top of liquid fasting. It is not dry fasting. It is liquid fasting. But it is the best form. Second best, I would say, is just drinking straight distilled water. Third best would be fruit juice with no pulp. And what you're going to do when you are fasting like that with those liquids, and by the way, you start forgetting about food after like 5 days. It'll vary. It'll vary, but you really just keep your mind off of food and you just almost forget about it, really. It's nothing. You really start realizing that you just don't need food. But most people have never done any kind of fasting, so they never get that feeling and they never realize. So don't start out dry fasting. I mean, you can do what you want. You know I'm all about freedom. Do what you want. But liquid fasting is what's needed if you have no experience. Not because you're going to die, because you're not going to frickin' die. That's bullshit. Anybody who dies while they're fasting, they've got some other major crap going on. And then it gets blamed. You know, fasting gets blamed, of course. They love to do that, to scare you out of fasting, because they don't want you to realize you don't need their drugs. So, anyways, back onto the subject. People, when you're dry fasting, when I first started, I was looking quite gaunt. And really, it's a fine line. Having no body fat in this world, you look skinny because the world is fat. Even the people that think they're cut and ripped and everything else in the gym, they're fat. They think they're not, but they are. They've got the toxic body fat because they're taking in toxins. Not all of them, but I'm saying when you're really lean and you don't have this fluff muscle, these gains that they talk about, this bullshit fluffy muscle that people have, that's useless weight that you're carrying around in girth. And it's really not that much weight because it's a lot of fat. It's like marbled meat. And I had it. I know. You lose that, you shed that, and you lean up and you look skinny. But, you know, see how dense that person is. The one that still has muscle, but it's lean. It's hard freaking muscle, and you've got surprising weight. People are surprised at your weight. Like, you're not like light. You know, your muscle's very dense and heavy when it's leaned out like that. And you're a lot stronger than you look, I'll tell you that. Put a shirt on, you look skinny. Use that arm to punch somebody in the face and they're gonna be shocked at the amount of strength behind it. So that was just a side note, but basically your body initially, when you're first fasting, your body is going to get rid of your cells that are damaged, toxic, weak, aged, and they're going to be replaced. So this happens the whole time you're fasting, but it really kicks in at about 2 days, 3 days, depending. If you're doing dry fasting, usually the autophagy kicks in at some point on day 2. Liquid fasting takes a little bit longer. I'm going to say 3 days. But yeah, so I'm not getting into the you know, how you should fast and all that right now. I'm just here to explain why people end up looking sick and like they're degenerating. And it's not the body eating itself, like they say here, you know, autophagy is self-eating. I read it just to read it. It's idiotic. It's not self-eating, it's the body destroying the weakness. You create a survival of the fittest situation in your body, and the body starts getting rid of all those cells and replacing them but the removal process is faster than the replacement process, mainly because the removal is much more important when it comes to the toxins that are surrounding your whole body that are making you sick. The body wants to get rid of that crap immediately. It's the low-hanging fruit. That's why you lose weight right away. And people, on a side note, I go off on all these side notes, I know, but people end up losing weight and they think, okay, I'm healthy, I'm good. No, you're not. You've shedded your waste, but you have not deep healed. You have not cleansed your temple because you've got sediments build up all through your body that are blocking the bloodstream from removing waste. Therefore, you have cells in different parts of your body that are just stagnant and dying and dead. And that's why people's skin ends up looking gray and ashy, and the light doesn't reflect. When you're looking at somebody, you're not looking at them, you're looking at the light reflecting off of them, or the light that comes from within. And you can't see that light from within, and you can't see that glow, quote unquote glow, which is really light reflecting off the skin, when that skin is dead. It's not going to reflect the light when it's dead. So that's why people get a glow when they're fasting, because they're cleaning up, they're regenerating. So in a way, you are dying when you fast. But it's the part of you that you want to die. The part that's dying already, or dead. It's getting cleared out so that the body can live. And I won't get into immortality in this podcast, but briefly, we are meant to live a lot longer. We're meant to live as long as we want, actually. So the body will rebuild, but you've got to clean it out. And that means long-term fasting. And I'm talking long-term, but I'm not going to recommend anything through this podcast. If anybody wants one-on-one, I do this. I've coached over 100 people. I've done personal coaching in Baja. I did a retreat in Croatia, fasting retreat. I'm doing another one in Florida. I have a client now in North Idaho that I'm going to be coaching for about 9-ish, 10-ish days here coming up in a couple weeks. And I have a lot of experience with this, and what I'm saying is it's long-term fasting that's needed to clean out this temple, because we've spent years loading it up. So to summarize, well, I don't want to end the podcast yet because I wanted to show you something about our cells. I don't know if I should get into that right now. I typed in gaunt, looking gaunt, and this is what I came up with. I mean, so this guy's wearing makeup here, obviously. This dude. Makeup. Yeah, see, that's not gaunt. This guy right here. That's just, he doesn't have body fat on his frickin' face. People want you to have fat on your damn face to make them feel good about themselves, I guess. So they'd rather just, claim that something's messed up with you instead of looking at themselves and saying, hey, maybe I'm kind of a fat ass. Yep. Yeah, some of these people look sick. I mean, dude, he looks sick, okay? Right there, Johnny Depp. He looks sick. She looks a little sunk in, but I'm not even going to say that's unhealthy. I have no idea. She looks healthy. This is makeup, obviously. He doesn't look healthy. There, at least. Anyways, whatever. That's gaunt. Goodbye. Anyways, okay, so I'm done with autophagy. Trying to stay on track here. I was going to read questions off of Facebook. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to make a post on Facebook and ask you, what would you like to know about fasting? And you guys answer the questions, ask the questions if you like. And I'll make a podcast where I just answer those questions. Actually, before I do that, I'm doing that for my Patreons. They've got some questions. I'm going to respond to that. I have about 13 supporters on Patreon, and I've got some people that have signed up for the fasting forum. If you guys have any problems getting into that forum, just know we're working on something right now. I'll probably just send everybody $9, for a month for any downtime that I've had as an apology, because it should be working, 100%. So I think that's what I'm going to do for anybody that's paid. Anyways, this is an article I did here. You guys can check it out. It's Our Highest Potential. Just click on Fake Book Posts, and you'll see this title, The Long-Term Fasting, Dry Fasting Lifestyle. This is good stuff, man. I forgot everything I put in here. I'm not going to sit here and read all this right now. But I am going to read... I kind of covered a lot of this. Weakest cells. Yeah, you guys, if you want, you can go and read this. I'll put the link to this story underneath this video. But that's it. The body breaks itself down, removes what is unwanted, what is aged and old, and it replaces it with brand new. How can you beat that? But you have to stop eating for that to happen. You've got to stop eating. This is why you can go fruitarian, and yes, you are going to get a lot freaking healthier, okay? A lot healthier. And I applaud everybody that makes lifestyle changes like that. That's self-love. But there's some knowledge that's missing. And that is that you need to stop eating to heal up. So people that become fruitarian, you may have had some issues before you started. You may have had some organs that were weak and messed up, and you started eating fruit, and you eat fruit, and you don't stop. Every day. And you got to stop eating the fruit too, because the body needs to stop digesting so that you can heal. So you have to stop eating to heal, to really heal. Deep healing. Deep healing that takes weeks, not 16 hours or 20 hours. So, anyways, hopefully that answered questions as to why people end up looking unhealthy. It's because of the mood. It's because of being unhappy and depressed. That's why. That's why you look sick. Because your acidic pH that's caused by your unhappiness is damaging your body. Even if you're fasting, you're countering the effects with that. And initially, you're gonna be sick sometimes because there's detox symptoms and there's other things going on while you're healing. But just know that you're on the way up. But before you go up, you might go down a little bit. You might feel down and sick. It's just part of the process, guys. But when you're fasting, you're getting out of the body's way, and the body's going to take care of you. Just remember that. The body's going to take care of you if you take care of it. And it is important. People don't think it is. It is. It's a physical reality. You can meditate all you want. And I'm not even putting that. I think it's amazing. Meditation, breath work, all of it. It needs to be done. But there's a physical reality right now. You're in this body. And it takes willpower and a bit of denial of self. And the urges to not eat and to clean yourself up. And when you apply that discipline, you get rewarded with superior health and freedom. Because without good health, guys, there is no freedom. There is no freedom. You will be a slave. You will absolutely be a slave. You will be incapable, possibly laying in a hospital bed, losing all your money, your family crying, depressed, sad, watching you die. I mean, what the hell are we doing? It's time to change. Time to turn this around. Time to stop doing what we've been doing because it hasn't been working. And I'm not blaming anybody. We make our own decisions. Most of the damage that's happened to you has happened because of your own choices, not because of other people doing anything. And I'm not speaking for everybody, okay? This is in general, most people. It's a fact. So, anyways, guys, if you have any other questions, ask them below this video or under one of my posts on Facebook. I'm going to post ask people questions, or ask people to ask questions, and I'll include them in a podcast. But the first people I'm going to do that for are my Patreons. They support me. They deserve my time. So I appreciate everybody. I thank you for listening. And until next time, I'm going to go. But here's the outro. I'm going to play this dude, man. I love this guy's music.
My